Hi everyone, my name is Erik Adler, and today I'd like to talk about the last book in the Chronicles of Narnia with you from 1956. It's The Last Battle, and I have here the omnibus edition of the books, all the 7 books in one volume, and I just finished reading it. I liked it a lot, especially actually this last volume called The Last Battle, because there are so many Christian themes in there, and it's also a very exciting and beautiful story, actually, with beautiful descriptions. And what's the story in there? It takes place around 200 years after the events in the Silver Chair, the last book in this series, according to Narnia time. And what happens is that an ape, an intelligent ape, convinces an intelligent but fairly stupid donkey actually to dress up like Aslan and to play the role of Aslan, to deceive the talking animals in Narnia into serving this donkey and indirectly, of course, the ape, which they do. And they start, the animals actually on the order of this ape start cutting down the woods and so on, and they also team up with the Calormans, and this ape actually invites the Calormans to occupy Narnia, which they do. This is the second occupation of Narnia by men. The first we were told about in the book Prince Caspian. These were the Calormans, of which King Miraz was a descendant, the uncle of Prince Caspian X. But this occupation of Narnia is different because it is based on religious faith. Because this ape convinces the talking animals in Narnia to believe that Aslan and the Calormen god Tash, who is a kind of a mix of human and vulture, something like that, with 4 arms, that they are the same god. And this new god is called Tashland and is then worshipped by the talking animals in Narnia. And what happens is that the present king of Narnia, who is called Tirian, hears about this, that Aslan has reappeared, but that he orders the talking beast to cut down the woods, that he is inviting Calormans into the country and so on, and he decides to investigate. So he goes there with his unicorn friend, and he is captured, and he tries to escape, and by invoking the children who helped rescuing his something like that, father Rilian 200 years earlier. And actually he invokes Aslan to receive help from these children, and he is then transported into our world, and in a fairly mysterious scene actually, he is seen by the children and also by Diggory and Polly, I believe, who were children in the first Narnia book, The Magician's Nephew, according to Narnia time, who are in a room where Tirian appears as a kind of ghost figure, and then they understand that they have to get to Narnia in some way to help the Narnians. They understand that there is some problem there. And Jill and Eustace from the last book, they managed to get to Narnia about a week later, but it's just an hour or something, or a few minutes, according to Narnia time, when they appear and they free Tirian, and then they together try to fight against this ape and to reveal this mystery concerning the return of Aslan and what he's doing, which is not what Aslan is supposed to do, because of course he's supposed to protect Narnia and the Narnians, and this new Aslan who has appeared is doing quite the opposite. The main themes in the book are those of faith and of eschatology, the end of the world, and there are a few dwarves who appear in the book, who are rescued by Tirian, the king, and the children. And the dwarves refuse to help the Narnians, and they also refuse to help the Calormens. They just want to help themselves. And later, when they come into this stable, which is revealed to be a door to Aslan's country, actually. They come to Aslan's country, which is a kind of paradise. they refuse to believe that they are in this new country, this paradise. They think that they are in a filthy and small stable, and they are not able to break out of this prison in which they are in, because they don't believe in Aslan and they don't believe in this new world into which they have come, which is, I think, again a satire on atheism, a little bit like in the last book, The Silver Chair. Another part of this satire of atheism is Susan, the oldest of the Pevensey girls, who has renounced Narnia and Aslan. She now thinks of Narnia as part of the games that she and her siblings played when they were children. She doesn't believe that Narnia is real anymore and that Aslan is real, and because of this she's not able to come to Aslan's country, which of course is paradise. She has to remain in England alone because her parents come to Aslan's country and all her siblings, and she's the only one who has to remain there. And because of her materialism, her atheism, and probably of her hedonism, we are told she's only interested in lipsticks and nylon and imitations, and she wanted to become an adult as soon as possible. And now that she's an adult, she wants to stop aging and not become older, and this is described as being grown up in the wrong way, or actually not really being grown up, at least not in a religious context. But Susan doesn't appear in the story, she's just talked about a few times, and I think this is sad, not just because Susan is the only one who is left behind, and also because we don't at all experience her perspective, because all the others come to Aslan's country, her parents and her siblings, everyone, and she is left alone in England, and we don't even experience that. So it feels kind of cold-hearted actually in the book. So Narnia comes to an end, and all the other countries and kingdoms in this fantasy world comes to an end, and the children and all of the talking animals who believe in Aslan and love Aslan go through this portal and come to Aslan's country, and those who fear and hate Aslan and don't believe in him, these talking animals turn into normal animals. They lose apparently their intelligence, their capability for speech, and they just disappear, and Narnia is destroyed by big waves and dragons and lizards who eat everything and so on. And then this portal is closed, and all the believers are in Aslan's country, which is of course eternal. And what is interesting with this concept is that it is described as the real existence, the true reality, and the old Narnia and also our world is described as being just shadows or shadowlands, which is a recurring theme and recurring name in Lewis's writings apparently. And this has similarities partly with the Bible. There are such thoughts in the Bible, and also in Plato, in Plato's myth of the cave. Everything that was good in our world and in Narnia continue existing in Aslan's country, we are told. For example, in our world, Professor Kirk's house was destroyed, but in Aslan's country it is still standing. Just to mention one example. And this has a parallel in the Bible, in the idea about the heavenly Jerusalem, this distinction between the real existence, which is God's kingdom, and the copy or the shadows, which is our own world, and in Lewis's story also the old Narnia. There are a few problems with this story. For example, the fact that the last king of Narnia, Tirian, goes to examine these news that Aslan has reappeared without any soldiers or bodyguards. He just brings a unicorn, which is fairly strange. Another problem with the story is the god Tash, the god of the color means, and his place in this religious system that Lewis builds into his stories. Because it's not clear if Tash, who actually appears in the story because he's called to Narnia by the ape and by a Calamine general who prays for his coming, and then he is actually appearing physically. And it's not clear if he is the devil or if he is just another god, if he has been created by Aslan, because Aslan created Narnia and all the other kingdoms there and this whole world, and where he comes from. According to Aslan, he and Tash are opposites, and there are people like, for example, a young Calamine soldier who also goes through this portal, who wants to serve Tash, but he's a good man, and he meets Aslan, and Aslan tells him that he is welcome in Aslan's country, because in reality he has been serving Aslan all along, because he's a good person. And evil men, even if they say they worship Aslan, in reality they are worshipping Tash according to Aslan. So he seems to be kind of a devil figure, but his role in this whole religious worldview is not clear, and he just disappears. Apparently he goes back to Kellerman again, and it's not clear if he survives the destruction of Narnia and the other kingdoms, if he perhaps will reappear at a later stage or anything, or if he just, or if he's actually destroyed together with the destruction of Narnia. We are not told, which is a bit strange. I also personally had a problem with the fact that Narnia and all the other kingdoms are destroyed. There's no mention of, other than the talking animals of Narnia, what happens to them. The good animals, they go through this portal and come to Aslan's country and will live there forever in happiness. And the evil animals, they lose their intelligence and just disappear. But there's no mention of the men. There are other countries like Archenland and also Calorman and Talorman, where human beings live, and there's no mention of what happens to them, which is very strange. And right after Aslan has destroyed Narnia and all the other countries, there is laughter in his eyes, we are told, when the portal is being closed. And this is fairly strange. There's no feeling for these creatures who didn't make it, even if they were evil, even if they didn't want to believe in Aslan and love Aslan. The fact that they are just destroyed without any further mention left a kind of bitter taste, actually, when I was reading this. What is also a bit strange in the story is that Aslan appears very late, after the last battle, which is a battle between the good talking animals and the king and the children against the Calamine soldiers, who serve the ape and their Calamine general, who together have thought up this new quasi-religion where they maintain that Aslan and Tash is the same god. And only after a great slaughter where a lot of Calamine soldiers and a lot of talking animals are killed, Aslan appears, and then he destroys Narnia and all the other countries. And the question is, why didn't he do that before? Why wait until after this very bloody battle, which was a real slaughter? It's like in the last book, Lewis also uses archaic language a few times when people are talking, which seems fairly unnecessary, and it's not throughout the book, it's just on a few occasions, so it really sticks out. We also have a change of perspective a few times, which is fairly irritating. I think it would have been better if Lewis would have concentrated on one of the characters, for example Jill, and told the whole story out of her perspective. It would have been much easier to identify with this character and experience the story as if you were in this world yourself. And now we experience what an eagle is thinking, and then what some other creature is thinking, and then a third creature, and it doesn't really work in the story. There are also a few descriptions in the story that I thought were fairly cheap. For example, it says it was so lovely that it made you want to cry, and this is of course not very concrete. We don't really know what that feels like, and it would have been better if Lewis here would have given us a description so that we would have had this feeling instead of telling us that we should have this feeling. These were my thoughts on The Last Battle, the last volume in the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I enjoyed reading the whole series. There were a few parts that I thought were a little bit weaker, like for example the second half of The Horse and His Boy, or the second half of Prince Caspian, but except for that I really enjoyed reading it. I'm very happy that I did so. I haven't read it in 30 years, and to come back to this world of Narnia again and experience all these adventures again was really exciting. There were a lot of interesting discussions with Christian themes and generally philosophical themes, which really made you think about the world, about life, about humanity and man's existence and place in the universe. So I can thoroughly, really heartily recommend this book series to anyone interested in fantasy and in philosophy. If you're interested in this combination, philosophical themes in fantasy literature, I absolutely think you should read this book series, although the books are for children, but they are so well written and so exciting and so interesting and so deep. They have so many interesting thoughts and so beautiful stories that it's well worth a read also for an adult. These were my thoughts on C.S. Lewis' Narnia series. Feel free to comment on this video and the other videos in this series. Feel free to give me a thumbs up and of course to subscribe to this channel if you like this presentation and discussion. And I'll talk to you soon again.